Hello there, and welcome to episode 118 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, you had an idea for a new segment earlier today. Do you want to share it with the class?
Shitty John?
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Oh, you want to go right into Shitty John? Sure, buddy. So
I love catching John, surprising him.
yeah. So I feel like I do need to preface this a little bit, just to defend myself a little bit, I guess. But I'm a family.
Workshop titles too.
Yeah,
I don't like Shitty John.
You don't like Shitty John?
We'll have to figure something else out.
Well, so had a lot of non-fun things this weekend. Just a lot of forced upon me interactions and get-togethers and decorating for Christmas, which
decorating for Christmas. It's November 4th.
Yep, I have one of those wives, and so it's just kind of a little I don't know, on edge all weekend. And so I finally got to play a little bit of video games last night, and I have talked about how I'm very much liking Rebirth, and I still think it's a great game. Mm-hmm. But I was at the worst part of this game from my current mindset last night, where I was in the middle of the Queen's Blood tournament. I think it's chapter 5, and it was pissing me off to no degree, where it's like, I think Queen's Blood is a well-executed game. There's a lot of cool things about it, but I just kept getting into the scenario where it's like I beat the first 4 guys, and you got to face the final person, and then it's the end of the tournament. Cool, I see the end of it, and I'm not kidding. And maybe there's people that are going, "Wow, you just suck at the game." I tried probably 15 times to beat this person.
Yeah.
And when I find, because when you play Queen's Blood, you kind of can see it ahead of the final. Like, I'm going to win this one, right?
Right, yeah.
And so I finally had the things, like I pushed her real hard, right? I was aggressive, right? You want to capture all the tiles and do all that. And so I had her. And then just that she had 1 tile left. And I had 3 left. And I had points above her and everything. And then she plays 1 card I haven't seen ever in these 15 games to just do exactly what she needed to do. I was like, fuck this. So I exited it out. Forfeited the tournament. I said I'm not even going to bother with it. And then that took me to Costa del Sol after that, which is it's Tifa in a bikini, lots of good stuff with that. I've heard it from you, and they start me off where I have to go do just these ridiculous amount of mini games to get beachwear. Yeah. And I'm just like, let me fight things. And so I was Shitty John at work today, kind of just venting a little bit to Nick and some other people about how it is just driving me nuts. I just don't want to do this right now. You're making me do this. I thought for a while that I couldn't even skip the Queen's Blood tournament. I thought I was going to have to finish it. And so I almost I almost lost my mind. But for long-time listeners of the show that do know, Shitty John has made an appearance before. He probably has made a couple of appearances at this point, but those who listen to the Cyberpunk 2077 review, probably that was also Shitty John, where he just when he gets in moods and he wants to get through games and keep moving on and keep working through his backlog, and then when you just get these derailments and with these mini games that I don't really want to be doing at the moment, it doesn't tickle my fancy.
Yeah, a common theme, obviously, on the show, John will always preface with the amount of time he has. So
yes.
When John plays games, sometimes it feels like you're steamrolling it. You're just trying to get through it. Cyberpunk was one. Mm-hmm. Stellar Blade was another one where you kind of just force the main content. And now you have this game, and this game has a lot of. And I said that in my own review that there's a lot of bloat to this game. Mm-hmm. It's much bigger than it needs. It's way longer than it needs to be, especially when it's forcing you to do the side content of the game. That I am kind of bummed that I wish you could play this game in a relaxing. I get more than 20 hours a week to play games.
20 hours a week? What are you talking about?
That you could kind of sit down and just get lost and immersed in these worlds. It kind of bums me out that one of the cooler things about the game is Queen's Blood, of course, the built-in card game, and all the mini games they put in it, and it's just you just don't have the time to
Golden Saucer's gonna piss me off.
Yeah, exactly, and you're gonna meet the big moment of the game, the casino with so many mini games.
Do you have to do them?
I don't think you do.
Probably gotta do a couple.
Yeah, you have to do a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just, Yeah, I don't know, man. And it's just a commentary on big open world games now. I think it's what I've been trying to hone in on myself for the past couple of years. Is why a game like Red Dead probably didn't sit with me very well, and maybe I want to try and find some time to do that, but I got to be very picky about the time I select to make sure that I can give it the attention it needs. But the reason like Metaphor seems like something I really want to play, but at the same time I know I'm going to just kind of get hit with that again, and it's upsetting. I don't really like it. It's why I gravitate towards the Nevas and the short experiences and the roguelikes, the things I can pop in, pop out, get the full experience of the game, but feel like I was spending my time worthwhile. And it's also especially frustrating too because the first area of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I think I 100%ed. Like I like doing the gameplay.
Right.
I know it's all gameplay. I'm not that stupid, but you know what I'm saying. Like I like doing just the little stuff. But yeah, not being shoved into and forced to do it didn't feel good. Plus, also that segue's stupid. Shitty John.
Yeah. Oh, and that's kind of it's always been the kind of the interesting dynamic of the show is you're the family man, so you kind of have this interesting view and how you have to manage the games you play with 3 children, and I'm over here, no children.
I just want everybody's main takeaway from these type of conversations is that Elden Ring must truly be special. So, and it is.
But I mean, even think how you consumed Elden Ring. It took you a very long time.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
You beat it over a year later.
Yep.
Yep. Where most people beat it in a month. Yeah. So it's okay, John. It just bums me out because I think you're missing out on stuff.
I know.
But it is what it is. Eventually, you'll be back to playing games like I do. So.
I hope so.
One day. All right. Before we get into the show, there are a few more things I wanted to talk about. Brothership, Mario and Luigi Brothership is kind of the last big release before the Game Awards. Unfortunately, Nintendo did not hit that one out of the park. That is currently sitting on a 79 on OpenCritic.
Not horrible, but
the Game Awards are a month away. And very soon we will know the 6 Game of the Year nominees. And again, these are voted on by outlets, the IGNs, the Giant Bombs, Eurogamer. They all kind of submit their entries, and then the cream rises to the top. The best, the games that they submit.
Sorry, I just thought of Randy Savage real quick.
But I wanted to ask you, John. Now that the kind of the last big release of the year is there, and games in December don't count, so Indiana Jones will not count towards this. What is going to be the 6 games? What do you predict?
I feel pretty good. I was making this. I feel pretty good about 5 of them. It's the 6th one that I'm not feeling super confident about. So,
all right. What are your 5?
The 2 obvious. There's 2 that are shoo-ins. 2 shoo-ins. Astrobot and Final Fantasy VII. Those are shoo-ins. Those are guaranteed 100%. Those will be there.
Yeah. I have those as locks.
Yep. I then also think Metaphor is pretty much a lock.
Yes.
It's getting a lot of good reception. It's a very good team. They will give it the flowers it needs. I think Balatro does get its flowers.
I do have that as a lock as well.
As the year goes on and you see all the collaborations and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but even the staggered release of the game, now it just hit phones recently. It's keeping it top of mind, keeping it fresh in people's minds, and just kind of reminding them, like it's doing to me, of how great this game is, because I've been addicted to it on my phone.
And when a bunch of outlets vote on this, the more people that play it it definitely helps. I think that you can play this on pretty much every platform is a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think that's there as well. I'm feeling very confident. Now I'm not in a shoe-in spot, but Silent Hill 2 I think gets the nomination.
Okay.
Maybe you can have more to say on that as we talk about it later on the show, but I think it's a feel-good story. It was way better than anybody thought it would be. It's a recent release, which gets a decent, for better for worse, gets top of mind considerations. And I mean, sitting at an 88 or 87?
87, yeah.
That's real solid. So if the people that the outlets are reviewing or rating it, I think that they'll give that its flowers. And then the 6th one, I don't know.
I like how you say giving them their flowers like it's like the Bachelorette or something.
Yeah, everybody likes to be treated like a bachelor. You get a rose. And I don't. Yeah, presented by Pyramid Head. And then so the sixth one, I think there's 3 games that contend for the sixth spot, and I'll land on one so that you can corner me on it later. But I think those 3 games are Dragon Age, Helldivers 2, and Black Myth Wukong.
Huh.
I think those are the 3. I think Helldivers for its zeitgeist moment, for how big it was at the beginning of the year. It's not the best game of the year, but I do think it's one of the bigger stories, and it could get a nomination that way. Black Myth Wukong, I'm going to put on a little tinfoil conspiracy hat a little bit.
Okay.
Dominated in China. And so it's like, I think there could be some some black door scene, like, hey, let's give them a nomination just to keep it going. I don't know if that's something that happens in the video game industry.
That's an interesting tinfoil hat thing, because the Game Awards obviously also gets money and ad revenue from the other markets, and
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying Keeley's this kind of guy, but if they're like, hey, if you guys nominate this for Game of the Year, we'll give you a bunch of money for ads or something. I was like, I don't know what happens.
Well, and again, I know the panel of people that vote on this are international, of course, and if you have a big contingent of Chinese outlets and people, or just Eastern in general, pushing for this, you're that's interesting. I didn't go that way with this, but yeah, those are all interesting games. I kind of went more review score wise.
Well, hold on. And then the Dragon Age, and then so Dragon Age, I think, has a chance just based on its historical significance, again, recency, and the outlets seem to like it a lot more than the average, internet troll did. So like
we'll get to that.
It could get a lot of consideration on that regard. So I'm going to officially put my 6th nomination on Dragon Age. I think that's the one that gets it. And I think that everybody loves a little bit of drama too, so they can be like, we can get some drama because people will be real mad that we nominated it. So I'm going to say Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII, Balatro, Silent Hill 2, Metaphor, and Dragon Age.
Okay. I like it. So Dragon Age was your 6th. What was your 5th? Silent Hill.
Silent Hill, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's solid. Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be pretty, and congratulations to Japan. Like, what a year of games they had.
Yeah, well, and another one I didn't even say that probably should be there, but for some reason it's just not getting any considerations, is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Came out with a 90 earlier this year.
I have that one on
You have it there? Okay. Yeah. I hope so. I think it deserves to get the nomination. Nobody's talking about it at all.
Because I have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I'm going to go with, I think, Echoes of Wisdom will be the 6th.
That one
as well.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah. I just see a Nintendo game getting in there again, and Nintendo's a brand.
Zelda's a brand.
Yeah, Zelda's a brand. Everyone plays their games. I think Zelda, but this is gonna be a crazy year for nominations. I think just across the board, even indies as well. It's gonna be pretty wild. But
I do think it's gonna come down to. It's going to be Astrobot, Final Fantasy, Metaphor, and Balatro is a dark horse candidate, like a very dark horse. But some people love it. Like, it is a great game, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not bad.
All right. And then speaking of Dragon Age,
man, if you had told me in the beginning of the year though, Silent Hill 2 is going to be a nominee for Game of the Year.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah.
But speaking of Dragon Age, our press X for drama involved Dragon Age the Veilguard. And it is, of course, in relation to its reviews, not in relation to its score, but in some places of the internet believe that there's been some foul play in regards to the review process for this game. First up is that they believe that Electronic Arts, the publisher of this game, sent out a review NDA in which had kind of laid out what reviewers could say and what they had to say. The first one being they had to say a return to form for BioWare,
Ew.
which a lot of reviews did say, and then it had to leave out like the wokeness. I believe I forget the other ones. They can continually get more absurd. And then secondly, drama was around when Fextra Life a website that does it has a wiki page and does a lot of video content on YouTube, said Electronic Arts didn't give them an early copy of Dragon Age: The Veilguard because of the quote unquote negative impressions they gave the game after a preview event. Now, they don't have any proof. It's just that it's what they assume, because the other people that they know of that didn't get a copy were also critical of their impressions coming out of that preview event. So, again, here we go. I know it roped in your boy, Colin Moriarty. He was part of the ridiculousness.
Well, yeah, because it's this Grums guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so the big problem here is that it's hard to validate any of this because instantly the bad players get involved. The people, the gamer gators, the people that go after games like Dragon Age because they have inclusive content, woke content, in quotes, and so they start getting engaged for bad faith. And so is it true or not? It doesn't look to be true. There's no actual proof that any of these things actually happen. There's no reason why that's been publicly announced as to why they withheld review copies from some versus others, or that there was any kind of review NDA that you had to sign to get an early copy of the game. But, John, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look. It's just so hard nowadays, man, with everything getting inundated. We're one day away from the United States election. That's obviously has us all on edge. But I don't know. I mean, this does seem like one that I kind of do believe it.
Which, both parts?
I believe that BioWare and EA would be shitty with what they make people say.
You think so?
I do. I do, because
I just don't, because if there are review press kits, right? They kind of you don't want to spoil certain things, stuff like that, typically around that kind of stuff. But I can't, it would get out there. That's the problem. If you're giving this to a bunch of streamers and a bunch of Twitch people and a bunch of legitimate outlets, your Bloombergs, your Kotakus, your IGNs, one of them would say hey, look at this ridiculous thing we have to follow.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure that there's a specific thing that they had to sign and say, but I could see them easily being like, Fextra Life, you're not getting a review copy because you didn't have positive impressions about that. I could see that. So maybe it's I believe some of it and not some of it, but I don't know, man. I think of BioWare, and their backs are against the wall more than any other company probably in the industry with terms of needing to produce a quality project. If it doesn't hit, it's over for them. So I could easily see them putting things out there to hedge their bets and to make sure that things reflect the way they want to, at least on the front end of it. I just don't have a lot of faith in the way that PR people and corporate speak talk when it comes to their things. I do think most people are shady. I do think most people at these levels will try and put one over. And if there's no proof, that could be one thing, but what possible proof could there be?
I mean, if they're telling you what to say, like a return to form for BioWare, if they're telling you to say that, I mean, I would think that would be in an email or a document or something, And I do think it is a weird relationship, because it's you not just say you get Dragon Age and you're shitty about it and all that stuff. It's probably well, now Electronic Arts in the future will not send anything to me ever again, right? I won't get, and I know it's very important to talk about a game when it's released, right? That's when it's the interest in the game is at its hottest, is when Dragon Age comes out, Black Ops comes out. Traffic is on those games is insanely high, and then it tapers off. So there is that kind of well, you don't want to piss them off, but I would think say if me and John got games, I would disclose it, right? Yeah. I'd say, oh, PlayStation gave us the Horizon Adventures, and And secondly, like I wouldn't want to like jeopardize like the integrity of our show, right? Like by saying things I don't think are true about the game because I don't want to hurt my relationship with PlayStation if there was one. There's not.
Yeah, but we are the smallest of small. Like we are the smallest potatoes in the potato farm, right? So it's like I don't know. I just, I just can see EA and BioWare. Maybe not them specifically. It could be Activision. It could be 2K. Just like I can see people guiding outlets and media truthfulness is at an all-time low. It seems like, right? Like across the board.
Oh, it's
Do you not agree?
I think that there's not a lot of money in it anymore, so they rely on, let's say, AI written articles and stuff like that because they're just not. Because, like I say, like who are more people going to IGN or are they going to go watch Kai Cenat's stream on Twitch? Like the importance of especially games media. Or just news in general, because it's either your Facebook feed or, how many people are going to CNN.com all the time as opposed to 30 years ago. It's just.
But I think that might kind of prove your point a little bit. If the companies, the publishers feel that games journalism is at a low, if people don't go there and trust them anymore, like they can get away with a lot more bullshit. Like.
That's a conspiracy hat there.
Oh, for sure. No, this is all conspiracy hat. I mean, we have no facts on any of this.
Right.
It makes sense, absolutely what you're saying that like why didn't Schreier get a hot take of something if there was a document out there, but
even your boy,
I am truly a where there's smoke there's fire kind of guy though.
But even your boy Colin Moriarty said he's never had to sign anything about any video game ever except one case.
I'm not saying I don't think anybody signed anything. Like I'm saying that I think there could easily be discussions made with the higher ups at both BioWare and EA to direct the type of discussion that is having around their game. I'm not saying like anything got signed and you can't really control it in that way. But like again, I'm aware there's smoke, there's fire guy, and if like there's all these people saying it, like I think it's either one of two things. It's a complete fabricated attack on the woke world, which it could easily be, or there's something to be said. And it's just weird that there's a release where it's like, okay, you got this Grums guy doing stuff, and you got Matty Plays doing stuff, and you got like, it's just there's a lot of weird things about it. So I tend to kind of say like, yeah, there's probably something different about this. It's not just another release from another team.
Yeah. Well, I can see a world where they're picky and choosy with who they give the game with. I can see that, right? But I don't think that whoever does get the game is not being like, hey, you got to do this. I don't think that happens. I just don't. I just think that they probably targeted all the big players to get a copy of the game, and then these people, that were probably critical of the game, they're like, they don't need a copy. Like they're not big enough players to even matter. Like Extra Life, like I'm sorry, like even if you're doing 100,000 views on a video, that's you could easily be skippable for that.
Sure.
And so that's probably what happened, is that they're just like, we don't have to give it to them. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but like if they were, they're under no obligation to do so. You're right, but like I don't know if if like Extra Life was invited to this thing, hey, we want you to check out the game, and then they give feedback going, we don't like it. It's a scummy thing to be like, you don't get a copy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
sure,
so it's like,
sure.
So that's what I think more I'm saying than anything is just, I would never put it past a company or corporation to just hedge their bets in every possible way and not worry if like, a couple people say cry foul because they're small potatoes or whatever.
I believe, didn't Bethesda blacklist companies? Because I think I remember, Kotaku got blacklisted by Bethesda once.
Yeah,
they never got any of their games. So it has happened. So.
Right, so, I think there's a lot of muddying of what's going on due to the woke bullshit that seems to infiltrate everything. And I'm saying woke bullshit and, like, why are we talking about... Not that, like, I hate woke things. Like, everything's woke now, and it's annoying, right? So I think it muddies the waters a little bit with that. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think I'm getting older. I'm getting more jaded. Everybody at the top of every organization is a fucking idiot, and they're doing scummy things to protect their pockets, just like our lovely politicians here. So, but I have absolutely no, it's just a gut.
There's no proof. It's just an internet drama. Again, and like I said, it would be great if someone actually could do some actual reporting on it that mattered instead of just creating fake documents. And
it's hard to report though if EA or BioWare's not going to talk to anybody. You can't make them talk to you.
True.
So like,
and but I mean that's Jason Schreier wouldn't be who he was if if he didn't get people, the insiders to
It wouldn't have been cool to have like a list of all of Jason Schreier's insiders. Like this is Mike, he works at BioWare. This is Steve, he works at 2K. And like just he probably has like just the perfect spider tendrils of like touches every piece that he needs to.
But yeah, so I mean you side eye it, but there's no proof here.
I mean it is you you go to Dragon Age the Veilguard Metacritic's got an 84 Metacritic score, but then a 3.8 user score. So like, there's just bad actors all over the place, and it's how do we parse through it? How do we know? We don't.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
No,
but
you can trust us.
But at least, trust one of us since we. I don't know. You can choose to trust one of us, but luckily, at least it provides good introductory podcast content.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and then finally, the follow-up to our email discussion last week from Julio, in which he considered buying a PS3. We got a follow-up.
Does he say y'all?
He does. There's some y'all.
Nice.
Thank you for your thoughts and opinions on my last question. I've decided to not go forward with a PS3 for the time being. I have 7 main games that I wanted to play on the PS3, with those being Infamous 1 and 2, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 1 and 2, the original God of War trilogy, and the original God of War trilogy. But John made some really good points, with the first one being that with Sony and Lucasfilm porting some of their past titles already, these 7 games may already have a chance of being fully ported to the PS5 someday. Second point being that I'm in no rush to play these games, since I have a lot of games in my backlog already that I'm trying to get through. So it might be best just to hold off and hope that these games can be ported sooner or later. With that being said, this leads me to my next question. Is there any PS3 games that y'all would like to see be remastered, remade for PS5? Love to hear y'all's thoughts.
Thanks for replying back with your list, Julio. Yeah, I have even more confidence that I think eventually someday you'll be able to play the Infamous games and the God of War games at the least. I don't know about the Star Wars Force Unleashed games, just because they're tied with different licenses and things. I don't know. It's possible though.
Was it Aspire Media? They've been who have been porting the Tomb Raider, and they've done the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, they've been working with LucasArts already, so there's a relationship there.
So I could see it. I could see it happening.
But in terms of remasters from the PS3 generation, PS3 generation is such a weird one for me because that was my college generation, so it was a lot of Call of Duty and like things that I don't do now, Little Big Planet. But the easiest answer is Metal Gear Solid 4. I don't think we need to really harp on that anymore. But I would personally like. And you're probably going to roll your eyes at me, Nick, but I would like a remastered God of War trilogy. I think that would be dope because I think they're seminal games. I enjoyed all of them. They are much different than what the new ones do. And I think they could hold up still pretty well just as a fun button smasher. If you make them pretty, you don't even really need to do much. Just make them run at 60, up-res them a little bit, kind of do what maybe they did with like the Soul Reaver games, but just clean up the textures and all that. And that would be something that, like, if you give me those 3 games for like $50-$60 on PS5, I'm probably buying it.
Okay.
But it's hard to think of other ones, man. Like, I think of Resistance, but I don't need to replay Resistance.
What about Motorstorm?
Nope, never played.
After we talked about it, I was thinking about more Warhawk and Starhawk.
Yeah, never played those.
Did you play the Gran Turismo games?
Not for PS2. I like A-Spec. A-Spec was my one. That was the PS2.
I'm thinking there's some SOCOM games on there.
I heard Puppeteer was great. That's a weird offshoot one that didn't get a lot of wasn't very popular when it came out, but it's supposed to be great. I like the Little Big Planet games, but I definitely don't need to play those again.
Yeah.
The Infamous games are great ones. Oh, actually, I do. This isn't really.
Oh,
I have more. The other day, I was browsing around the internet or on the PlayStation Store. And it popped in my head. I was like, can I buy any old Ratchet and Clank game? And then you can't. And I was like, that sucks. I should be able to buy, a Crack in Time or Tools of Destruction or something like that. I'd even take the PS2 ones. Like, just those are just fun. Like, it doesn't matter if the graphics look great. Just give me a fun weapon, a little arena to go do a bunch of stuff in, and those are great. So I would love to kind of have some way to blast through those again, because it also is a game that's just kind of ripe for a perfect type of trophy. Like, you just get all the weapons, you get all the things, you do the bolts, and you're good. So those would be cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of games too. Yeah, it's only MGS4 for me.
Yeah,
I really can't. Again, I just won't play them otherwise. Like, there's not a lot of games like that I can go back and play.
Orange Box would be cool, but I don't need it.
Yeah,
just for Portal, I don't need to play Team Fortress, or maybe Half-Life would be cool, but
both Portal games remastered would be great in one package. We mentioned Heavily Sword. That's another one that's kind of landlocked.
Best PS3 game. What about GTA 4?
GTA 4 would probably be huge as a remaster.
The Uncharted games, but I wouldn't want at this point a remaster of those games. I frankly
Isn't there
probably
one already? Isn't the Uncharted collection a thing?
Right. So it's like, at this point you're really kind of looking at a remake, and I don't think I would even want that. But like maybe 15 years.
What about
from now,
Last of Us 1?
Yeah, redo it again. No, but like in 15 years from now, like a Uncharted remake, Uncharted 2 remake, Red Dead 1 remake. We're kind of the BioShock games. There's a lot there. I just feel like that we're still in this weird little limbo of that generation specifically of like, this is actually kind of sounds stupid to say since the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster just came out, but like I feel like we're just kind of getting into this point where it's like, okay, we busted through a lot of the PS2 games we wanted to get remade, Shadow of the Colossus and some stuff like that. At what point did they start looking at this library and really trying to hammer them out? Because we know that both Hollywood and the games industry is creatively bankrupt, so why not go back to the well and just, remaster some of these tried and true ones, but, ooh, Rock Band. I don't want a Rock Band remaster, though. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I'm in a weird mood today.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You'll be spicy.
Yeah.
Different than the
Shitty
normal
John.
But, yeah, Julio, thanks for writing in. Again, it would be nice, again, a fly in the wall in PlayStation's plans for both the PlayStation Premium platform and just their plans for more remakes. But
you wouldn't want them to do anything with the Batman games? I mean, they did do the remasters, and they didn't really do anything to them, I feel like.
No, Arkham Asylum did not look great when I played it back. Played it 2 years ago.
Fallout 3.
Or a year ago.
Yeah, there's some good games.
Yeah, and they're all, everything's going to be...
Dead Space 2?
Yeah, they might as well now. Everything's going to be remade, so it's all coming eventually. Just wait. The years of remakes will continue. All right, let's actually get into the show.
Sure.
This is how the show works. John and I
it's
both...
so dark.
Yeah,
God.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Crazy.
John and I both bring up the 3 things to talk about for a total of 6 things. It can be a video game we're playing. It can be a news item. It can be a topic. It can be an email from you, the listener. That email address is betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. It can be a Twitter DM. Follow us at JoysticksPod. It can be a comment on our YouTube page. That page is at Between the Joysticks. Any of those things, we can bring it and we can talk about it. And we're going to start with a big news item, John.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, one of the best and biggest release games of the year, Concord. It took the internet by storm, sold so many copies. I got some unfortunate news coming out of that studio. So from over at The Verge, I took a lot of this from Tom Warren, a friend over there at The Verge. Makers of the...
I don't trust him.
You don't trust him? Well, I trust him. Makers of the ill-fated Concord, Firewalk Studios is officially being shut down by Sony alongside the mobile game developer Neon Koi, formerly Savage Game Studios. It is estimated that the shutdowns will affect about 210 jobs, adding to the already record-breaking layoffs set this year. So, unfortunately, not coming back. Concord's never going to see the light of day again. But it seems like they did do their due diligence. We have some quotes from Herman Hulst I want to get into here in a little bit. But before we get into any of that, Nick, Is this the outcome is this the right outcome? Do you think?
Is this the right outcome?
Is this what's best for PlayStation Studios?
So funny enough, I went back and I listened to us talk about this, and when Concord got,
I was wrong.
Yeah, you were wrong. You remember that I had thought that this was the going to be the outcome. You just can't have a failure of this magnitude and survive, in some shape or form. It's just you're either going to get folded into other teams, or they're going to help with other projects, or you're just shut down completely. So I don't know. I think it's probably the right move. And this year where, every company's trying to remove headcount. Why keep around a studio that failed pretty spectacularly, and not all their fault either.
No,
I don't want to say that. And the typical, I am so sick of people going just the virtue signaling, like, oh my God, it's a horrible day.
Yeah.
The industry's so bad. And it's like, well, yeah, but these things happen all the time. These were happening as long as I've been in video games. Studio closures has happened. Yeah. Dead Space 2 developer.
You got Zipper, you got Evolution.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of PS3 game developers.
Yeah, right, there's two.
That it's happening and just as many that die off, there's just as many spring up as we continue to see in all these showcases, new studios, new games, and all that. So, but yeah, I think ultimately it's the right move.
Yeah.
I can't speak much for Neon Koi.
No, I don't even know if they released anything.
No, they have not.
Yeah.
So I don't know what project they were working on, but yeah, they haven't had a game, and so
yeah. I mean, it's as I said on the show, I thought they would have figured out some way to keep it alive. Try and make it free to play. But after looking at the numbers, I guess it makes sense. And, we talk a lot about how video game development costs and time is just increasing. So, you need to be more judicious with your resources than ever before. So that seems to be what they did. From Herman Holst, head of PlayStation over there, he did have a couple more things to say. Quote, he says, "We have spent considerable time these past few months exploring all of our options. After much thought, we have determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for the craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication." Holst says Concord didn't hit Sony's targets and that the PlayStation maker will take the lessons learned from Concord and continue to advance their live service capabilities to deliver future growth in this area. Concord did debut on August 23rd on both PS5 and PC. Sony took the game offline about 2 weeks later on September 6th after poor games. Estimates have them put sales under 25,000, and Concord only managed to hit an all-time peak of 697 players on Steam, lower at launch than Lord of the Rings Gollum. And as we stated,
just rub their nose in it.
Yeah. And as we stated earlier, Sony's Neon Koi mobile game development studio is also shutting down, despite Holst saying mobile remains a priority growth area. Which is a weird thing to say in that moment. But Sony originally acquired the German-Finnish studio when it was known as Savage Games back in 2022. The team was working on an unannounced AAA mobile live service action game that obviously will not see the light of day. So we RIP to two freshly purchased teams. But, at the end of the day, this goes back to... I think Sony's obviously trying to reinvent themselves, right? They want to do this live service push, and with a lot of this reinvention came kind of a different way of doing business, where in the past they would always purchase teams with people they had relationships already with, teams that they knew how to work with, Insomniac being the prime example of that. They worked with them on Ratchet & Clank and Resistance in a second-party capacity throughout the PS2 and PS3 generation, worked with them on Spider-Man, and it wasn't until they did that they put a ring on it, but that's been nothing but amazing success for them. And you can really make that case for almost every single team that they've purchased prior to these recent teams, right? The Concord, the Firewalks, the Savages, the Havens, things like that. If I was Haven right now, I'd be real scared. But it's just kind of just shows that, you're obviously not going to have a slam dunk in every single thing that you do on a business standpoint. But, could this be one of the reasons Jim Ryan's not here anymore? It's just there is a lot. I hope one day we get a nice big meaty no clip or something, or a Schreier book or something to give us a little bit more of the fine details, because what is the true number it's sold? it's astonishing. Just the like you said, the spectacular failure of this game.
Well, how much do you think the purchase of Activision Blizzard really kind of forced their hand on like trying to like really get a Call of Duty competitor of any kind
Probably
out the door really fast?
97% of it.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And that's why they bought Bungie too.
Right.
You know, they wanted to buy Bungie. You know, obviously they're like, cool, we're doing this live service thing that will accelerate us there. But yeah, I think they were scared that, you know, Microsoft had those internal documents that like, we're looking at every single studio to buy. And it's like, what? Like, we can't compete with you in that regard. So like, okay, buy Bungie quickly. And now we're learning that Bungie seemingly overvalued themselves, weren't entirely truthful. Sony jumped at it out of, you know, I don't know if they were scared or whatever. And now they're kind of paying for it a little bit. So, you know, they say we're going to take the lessons learned from this. I'd be very curious to get Herman's answers on what lessons did you learn? You know, because
I mean, we'll see, right? When we get the marketing lead up to Fair Games and everything about that game will be much different than this. I'm assuming if it comes out. I'm going to have that caveat. Yeah. But if Fair Games does make it to release, I think that every lesson should be there. Yeah. Learned with that game. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It's just crazy, man. Crazy. Like I didn't think it was possible to put that much effort and resources into something and not try to at least, like, there's so many games that get a second win nowadays, right? A second life, a second chance, or whatever. You know, Final Fantasy 14, when it came out, it was dog shit. People hated it, and they figured it out, and now it's one of the most profitable things, if not the most profitable thing ever for Square Enix. Right. Thought they'd try, I guess, but
yeah, we saw multiverses get shut down to come back.
Yeah.
All reworked. And now I can't say if that game's profitable when it came back, but yeah, to your point, it is crazy that they at least didn't get some kind of like revamp or free to play, or it was just done.
Yep. Well, R.I.P. Firewalk and Neon Koi. I mean,
again. Secret level, that Amazon show, it supposedly still has a Concord episode, so that'll be very.
Do you think is there been anything added to it since like the game got shut? They're like, hey, let's put in a cutesy joke at the end of this. Like, we'll see you later. No, we won't. Or something.
I don't know, maybe an in memoriam at the end.
Yeah, it's just they just die in a spectacular fashion, unannounced. Yeah.
That is kind of the wild part.
It'd be kind of funny.
This show that, if you're not familiar, is a compilation of animated episodes based on a bunch of video game properties. Is going to have one on Concord, and we'll see.
Yep. But no, I didn't even make it 2 years for either of those teams.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yep. Those two purchases. It seems like the only one that's like a good recent purchase is Housemarque. Seems to be really, and again, they worked with them in the past.
Right.
They know who they are. So, oh well, can't win them all.
No, not in the live service market, especially.
No.
All right, and yeah, when we do our review wrap up, obviously we're gonna have to talk about this again, but just a shitty year for Concord and Sony. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into some video games. Silent Hill 2. I've beaten it, John. I've done it.
How many pairs of underwear did you soil?
So many.
Good.
So many. That game is scary as shit, man. Oh, my God.
All right. Well, yeah, I already knew. Like, you know, I'm most curious what you think about the story and how the story landed, and I'll let you. Obviously, you lead your discussion, but that's what I want to know most of.
Yeah, because we've kind of talked about the gameplay, so yeah, we can. The story ends incredibly satisfying. I can see why a lot of people consider this one of the better video game stories, because it definitely deals with subject matter that's just insanely mature and dark, and it's just if you're going to Silent Hill, some bad shit happened to you in the real world,
or you caused some bad shit.
Yeah, exactly. It ended really satisfyingly, though like I said last week, that I think that it would be better if the onion peeled a little faster than kind of just like that. This is everything.
Right.
Yeah, and that the game obtusely has you working toward multiple endings, but you don't know that you're doing that throughout the game. Like your certain actions kind of contribute to what ending you get in the game. And I got a quote unquote the good ending. People who have beaten it probably know what that means. Yeah, just again in the pantheon of these games, it kind of like really fits in there well. It's very different. It's like I said, it's not, while it controls and plays like Resident Evil, Alan Wake, a Dead Space. It really is its own beast, and given the maturity of the storyline, and it's more of a horror game than those games, those other games I mentioned. That I do think, John, I think you're gonna come out of this like, this is my favorite horror game.
Wow. Well, yeah, you ready for a hard question?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna I gotta rank the twos?
Yeah, I'll have to rank all the twos. And Dead Space Remake is in there, and also Resident. So I want you to rank Silent Hill, Alan Wake, Dead Space, and I guess like Resident Evil. Pick your Resident Evil. 4.
So I thought I was ranking the twos. I'm ranking all these franchises now.
What are the other twos? Sorry, I told you I'm in a weird mood today.
No, you said you were gonna have me rank Alan Wake 2, Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 2, and Dead Space 2.
Okay, yeah, do those.
That's very hard.
I figured it. I said you're ready for a hard question.
I don't see. So the issue. In my brain, Dead Space 2 and Alan Wake 2 are up there because I went back and platinumed or got all the achievements in those games. That means a lot, right? That you enjoy the game. And I don't know if I'll ever play Silent Hill 2 again. And I definitely am not going to play Resident Evil 2 again. So I would put those in the back half. But I do think Silent Hill 2 is better than Resident Evil 2.
Wow. Okay, good.
And it's not a perfect game by any means. I think the combat is clunky, and so the boss encounters are equally as just clunky and just okay. They don't really do anything. Why are you making a frowny face?
Because I don't like clunky. You know I don't like clunky.
I mean, it plays like Resident Evil 2. I mean,
okay.
Those boss fights are clunky too.
They are.
You know, you're just not mobile enough to deal with the shit that they throw at you.
You're not Zagreus dashing around all over the place.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, and again, I 100% believe that's intentional because they are horror games, and that ratchets up the tension when you're like, I can't get out of Pyramid Head's coming for me, and like. But
they would have given you a samurai sword and not a 2x4 if they wanted you to feel powerful.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the environments are great. There's just so many memorable places in this game. Not just the town of Silent Hill is very memorable, but yeah, and then all the side characters are just great. And when you find out what's really going on with them too, it's like, fuck.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and it's wonderful. I'm gonna give this game a 9 out of 10. It is. Blooper Team did it. They really did it.
Bloober, Nick.
Bloober.
God.
I know video games. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I just want to keep calling them. Bloober Team.
Blooper is more fun to say. But
we didn't really talk about their next game was announced at the partner preview as well.
No.
Was it Chrono?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But this is I can see why people enjoy this franchise as much and why they think it stands up to the Resident Evils, because the story is definitely there. It's way more serious and way better written than a Resident Evil game.
So you had this in one of your top 6 nominated. Like, you think this will get a Game of the Year nomination?
No, you did.
But I know I did. But you didn't?
No, I did not.
You did not. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I don't think. I think a remake doesn't. In a year with a bunch of good games, a remake isn't gonna rise to the top like Resident Evil 2 was able to do, because it was a weaker year of overall video games. So. Yeah. Okay. And again, this is and also to credit Resident Evil 2, it was like kind of like the heyday of these remakes, where this is just copying what they did. So, but it is wonderful. I'm really curious now that John has my copy of it, what he thinks of it.
Do you think that they will get a shot at a new one? Or what do you think what does the future of Silent Hill look like?
That is a good question. Yeah, with a blooper announcing their next game.
Just doesn't respect me, guys. Just doesn't listen to me.
Announcing their next game already. Yeah, I wonder if they would get the reins to do another remake. Though with this franchise would be kind of weird because other games aren't as considered, aren't highly rated as this one is. They kind of went for the, if this was Silent Hill 1, we'd know Silent Hill 2 was coming. But also, would they let them shepherd the future of the franchise? Would they get to make an original Silent Hill game?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this game sold over 1 million copies, so that's pretty good for a horror game on PC and PlayStation.
Yeah, no, this is definitely this game is probably the biggest feel good story of the year. I'm trying to go through it in my head, but this game was
the breakout hits, the Pal Worlds and the Helldivers.
Sure, but this one people were against.
Right.
The other ones people weren't against, they just didn't know they were going to be for them. This one was the one that people from that trailer where they showed him walking over that gap 5 times and the bad sound and nobody we had, our video game fantasy league, right? This was a game that people picked up and they go, oh no, that looks bad, and dropped it because we had no confidence in it. So for it to come out and get to that, an 87 and 1 million sales, Konami's got to be very happy with Bloober. So yeah, we'll be interested. Looking at them going forward, see what they do with it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I haven't played the other Silent Hill games, so I think either way would be fine with me, either a new game or. But I mean, Konami seems to be all about it. The short message released for free earlier this year. They were doing Silent Hill streams,
and they have that F game that was announced, I think.
Yeah.
So there is stuff in the Silent Hill doesn't seem to be anywhere near death yet, but and I mean, this release reinvigorated it. That's. I don't know if that's what Resident Evil 2 did for Resident Evil, because 7 came out before Resident Evil Remake 2, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it already kind of had its little boost.
Yeah.
So it didn't save that franchise, but this one could potentially reinvigorate the masses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm curious. There'll definitely be who will be making it. And what it'll be is the question, but there'll definitely be more Silent Hill for sure.
Well, Silent Hill F is being made by Neobards Entertainment, so I don't know anything about that. So.
All right, and so that kind of freed me up to play my next game, and that's Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Shaka, bro. I don't know. You're just staring at me. I don't know what to say. What do you want?
Let's start here with let's get a little history of Dragon Age. If you're not familiar with this franchise, this is kind of, this is another franchise from famed RPG developer BioWare, the makers of Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic. They're, at one point could be considered one of the best developers out there for telling amazing stories. And Dragon Age is their fantasy title, created in-house. Again, but a typical fantasy, Tolkien, elves, dwarves, all that takes place in.
Wait. Are there dragons in this game?
Yeah, there are dragons. Takes place in the fictional world of Thedas, and again, all the fantasy staples are here. They have one race that's a kind of exclusive, the Kunari.
Those are the weird ones with the horns.
Yeah, that's kind of the one race that's kind of exclusive to Dragon Age, but everything else is standard fare. Interesting enough, the first game, Dragon Age Origins, was released in 2009, and was it kind of it played like Baldur's Gate 3 in a way, but it was all played in real time. It wasn't turn-based. Everyone had cooldowns on their abilities, and you could pause it at any time.
It was kind of Diablo-esque.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Your character, when he would just swing away and do damage or take damage for the most part. But it really was a franchise that built on the strengths of BioWare. Great story, great companions, and then choices that mattered. Like you would make, there were multiple endings, and how you got to those endings, where there's choices riddled throughout. Kind of, again, these staples of a BioWare game. And so they had 2 other titles before this, Dragon Age 2 in 2011, and then Dragon Age Inquisition in 2014. That game would go on to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Yeah, and that was the very first Game Awards, too.
Yeah, it was. I feel bad for that game, because everybody always talks about how like it was the worst gaming year ever. Because that one Game of the Year.
Yeah, I was kind of not a fan of that game. And then 6 months later, Witcher 3 would come out, and you're like, oh, okay, here, this is how these games should be. But John, what is your history with this franchise? Have you played all the games?
I have played about 2 hours of Inquisition. That is it.
Okay, so you really nothing.
No, I didn't play the first 2, and I bought Inquisition, I think, because it won Game of the Year, and then just was like, I don't enjoy what's going on here. It was very slow. Felt like I wasn't, I like quick, snappy things, right? And it's not that.
Okay. Well, there's some good things in Dragon Age: The Veilguard that might help you with the quick, snappy things. So the Veilguard is out now, 82 on OpenCritic, and I'm about 8 hours in right now. So getting there. Just again, it's an RPG, so just kind of like getting introduced to things and finding new companions and all that. But I'm really liking it so far. It is a return to form for BioWare.
I hate you. And that's my time on the show.
All right. Well, you mentioned the slowness. We'll get right into the combat, because that is a big departure here, as you've probably seen, as we've seen in the last state of play and stuff like that. That it is going the Final Fantasy 16 route with definitely a more action-heavy parrying, dodging around the map, doing combos. Stuff like that. You kind of get access to you can have 3 active skills at a time, and then you have an ultimate ability when you click in both the sticks. But those kind of play around with each other. You can kind of like, and your party members have the same, so you can kind of play around with abilities. They call it like prime, and then explode people by like using one ability on a guy that primes them, and then you hit them with this next ability, and then they explode for massive damage. Cool. And when I'm playing this game, it's very fast. I'm like dodging all over the place, hitting this guy, bouncing away, dodging an attack. It has the Batman Arkham.
Oh, really?
Indicator, like over your head, it lights white when you're about to get attacked, and then it turns yellow. And if you time your parry, you'll parry them. And then if it goes red, that's an unblockable attack. We're all familiar with this system at this point.
Yeah, it's the same thing as the loot system. Yes, we know white is basic, green is this, purple's good, or gold's legendary. Okay.
Yeah, so the combat is fast. It is very fun. I am actually really loving it right now. So that's great. I'm playing in Dragon Age games. You can kind of pick your background, your race, and your class. In this, I am playing a rogue because there's a Veil Ranger subclass that I was like, ooh, I like the idea of a Veil Ranger. So I'm running around with my 2 little blades, and then I also have third-person shooting with the bow. So you just hold the right trigger, and it's basically a third-person shooter at that point. It gets right up behind your character, and you're able to shoot.
I haven't seen any of that in press coverage. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
I don't know.
Oh, you can quick shot your bow just by clicking the stick quickly, and that's kind of cool because your guy's just jumping around going, basically being Legolas from Lord of the Rings. But if you hold the trigger, it'll turn into like a third-person shooter, which is cool. So hopefully that piques your interest, John.
Sure.
And then just from it does a lot of smart things. You can respec at any time. You can change your appearance at any time. You can completely change your voice and all that anytime you want. Did I say you have infinite inventory?
No.
You have infinite inventory. There's a bunch of accessibility options. You can change like enemy health, how much damage they do, and all that kind of stuff.
So like on a difficulty standpoint?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, they have their standard difficulty, but you can also just go in there and fine tune all of that to like. There's just so many options. You can really tailor the game to how you want to play, and so that kind of makes it just a great game to jump into. They did change the art style, and
your tone does not reflect.
I don't know how I feel about it. I think it looks so the original Dragon Age games were very dull. I watched a primer that went through the past 3 Dragon Age games, and I was like, man, it just had no personality. And I remember in Dragon Age Inquisition restarting the character creator like 7 or 8 times because I'd create a guy and be like, oh, he looks great, and then the first cutscene would happen, and I'm like, I can't look at yeah. I'm like, and even in the primer video when they showed the Inquisitor, your main character, I was like, oh, that looks terrible.
Yeah. PS3 baby.
Yeah. It's a PS3 game. Yeah, I guess it was. I guess it was
Inquisition.
Yeah. 2014. God, time flies. This is kind of, I don't want to say this derogatory because I know it gets taken that way, like almost like.
Hey, you said we need to be controversial, so say something controversial.
It's definitely moving to like the Fortnite kind of thing, like wide, like, the thing I always kind of think about is it kind of reminds me of Frozen at some points, where like the eyes are just really big and Disney-like at some point with some characters, including my own.
It definitely, it has a Pixar feel to it in a way.
Yeah, and so I like it, and I don't like it sometimes, and then I'm like, I go back and forth because
I feel like it looks great when the camera's zoomed out a little bit and you're like doing like the gameplay stuff, but I don't know if I like it when it's like camera up close on characters. All the armor and weapons are
like,
I do not like the way that guy looks.
Yeah, the armor and the weapons are unique, and they have all this like nice like attention to detail flair on them that I like. Like I'm like wearing this like a rogue thing, and it's got all the little knives, and I got a little pouch, and you can see all the seams in the outfit, and I'm like, okay, I like this a lot. But yeah, so I'm going back and forth on it. I don't know where I land on as far as where the art direction is, but I'm glad that they chose something that differentiates it from the competition, the Baldur's Gate and all that stuff, that it's got its own unique look now. The story, I don't know where I land on that yet either. It's kind of very, end of the world. We gotta build a party. This is typical BioWare. You gotta build up your companions. The first 2 companions I got that weren't from the Inquisition are not great. Okay. At this point, anyway.
There's no Garrus, huh?
Yeah, there's no Garrus yet. But I just got a guy that is the assassin character. He seems a little bit more interesting. He's kind of possessed by a demon, so he's got like a second version of himself that only he can see. That's kind of like telling him to do bad things.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'm kind of digging that character and knowing that probably will lead to some decisions to be made.
Which one is that? Nev? Is that Lucanus?
Lucanus, yeah.
Lucanus.
Yeah, Nev is the detective. She's not that great.
Okay.
But again, yeah, it's a BioWare. It is a return to form in BioWare in a lot of ways, and that is that it has the decision making. Your little wheel that you're making. Every dialogue you get into, you're making a choice whether you want to be the tough guy or the valiant guy, or silly or funny or feel empathetic. You kind of have a dialogue wheel, and then the symbol in the middle will kind of tell you what kind of response you're giving him. So
how do you feel about that? I've heard from people that some people like to know what the thing is, and some people don't like to know, where it's like in Mass Effect, you'd be like, Shepard, tell him no. And it'd be like, fuck you, motherfucker. You're like, whoa, I didn't mean that. But like that's kind of part of it.
Yeah. So the descriptions are very brief, but your character will say more than that.
So do you like that it tells you the mood?
I go back and forth on that, because it definitely, like if you said, if you play this game and you're like, I just want to be a goody two shoes, the game's directing you how to respond to that every time. And so I don't like that. Okay. I kind of like the ambiguity of responding and not knowing how it's going to be taken. But that to be said, you are given choices where it does not tell you what is the good or bad choice. I just had to. And this is a very early quest. I had a mayor that had lured all the townspeople to the center of town to be possessed, basically, and he was done. He did that by the will of the bad guys of the game, the gods, and I had the choice to either spare him or let him die. And it definitely did not tell me what was going to happen.
Okay.
It was just like, what do you choose? And I chose to let him live. And I don't know if that will have repercussions later. I assume it does, but
better. This is a Bioware game, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. There hasn't been a lot of big decisions yet in the game. And like I said, I'm only 8 hours in, so
I've heard this one, they hit home at the end.
Okay.
Which is, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there's a big decision coming up that people warn you, you could get locked out of content if you don't have everything done at this point. And
to roofie or not to roofie.
Yeah, exactly. Dark. Yeah, it's there. You have, and I know John doesn't care about this, but you have a home base, and the home base is customizable, and you can place things in your home base where you want to.
Cute.
Again, you can, if you're like, I love this armor set, but I get better statted armor set, you can
transmog.
Yep, you can transmog. Just a lot of the quality of life stuff. Generous save system. You can have 100 manual saves, so you can save scum the fuck out of this game. But it also has 6 different auto saves at any one time.
Nice.
So if you really fuck yourself and you're like, I didn't want to save the mayor, I want to let him die, you can go back and do that, no problem. So
why is Nev's hat so stupid?
Because the guy at the store told her she was the only one.
It's just a disc on the side of her head. It's weird.
Yeah. And they all get different, and your companions too. As far as loot wise, unlike Final Fantasy 16, you kind of pick all that. You pick their loot and stuff like that. So
I like when you can do that.
The levels are been pretty linear so far. I haven't had the option to and I think they're story reasons, and it tells you, it's just you can't go here for story reasons, but they're very open zones, but for the most part in these early moments, it's been very linear. It's not like the opening, the hinterlands in Dragon Age Inquisition, that first open area where I think every things you should know before playing Inquisition was leave the fucking hinterlands because you're going to be stuck there doing menial side quests and you're going to burn yourself out.
Probably what happened to me.
Yeah. But no, it's a very pretty game. It's a PS5 Pro enhanced game, so in a couple of days when everyone gets their PS5 Pros, they can play this game and have it look extra pretty. Yeah, the environments are great. The enemy variety's been pretty solid.
Is this the type of game where you see the enemies in the world and you just go right into combat, or you see them and then it freezes and then you're in a combat?
Oh, no. Yeah, it's all in real time. They're all in the environment.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Outside of the the story moments that they just appear everywhere, but I mean, one of the early levels I went to was an underwater prison, which Baldur's Gate fans will know that there was an underwater prison in that, though. So I thought that was kind of funny that, damn it, they did it before us. Baldur's Gate did it.
They kind of did everything. I feel like that's one of the strengths of that game.
And that was just a cool level. An underwater prison is pretty dope as a fantasy setting and as a dungeon. It's got puzzle varieties. Your companions help in other ways too. They interact with the environment. They can open paths and do things for you. So there's more to them than just helping you out in combat and being around for story decisions. But yeah, it's you.
Sounds like it was a good purchase.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
I'm really liking it. I think, again, it seems to have been the fear with a lot of these developers is, are they going to be able to come back after their really bad game? Or, this is the team that did Mass Effect Andromeda and
BioWare, yes.
Anthem.
Rocksteady, no.
Yeah, exactly. And that I know Schreier put up a giant article about this game's development. Dragon Age 4 was originally going to be really multiplayer heavy, and
when it was Dreadwolf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and that they rebooted it, and then really the success of Jedi Fallen Order kind of helped them kind of push Electronic Arts to be like, hey, this should be a single player only game, because look at Jedi Fallen Order sold really well as a single player only game. So yeah, it's the development's been turbulent, but it's cool that they got there and that they made a really good game.
Yeah, and it seems like I've been
So
reading
far.
stuff that's like there's going to be no DLC for this. The entire team has moved on to Mass Effect now. That's what I've been reading. So,
yeah.
And they've reassured everybody it will be more mature in both art style and tone. So okay. It seems like they got really quick on the whole. We're not going to make sure everybody worries about the art style for Mass Effect.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. Sometimes it's they react to the internet too quickly.
Yeah.
Like it's like do you. Don't let them tell you dictate to you what your game should look like. Just yeah, I think if you're either skipping this or whatever, and because you're more of a Mass Effect fan, I think you would be very excited for what Mass Effect could be now with this development team, because it's not the same BioWare of 10 years ago or when Mass Effect 3 came out.
Yeah.
It's so we'll see. But again, I'm early on. Maybe I'll get to the end and be like, fuck this game.
Fuck
but
this.
But I doubt it. I think it's there. It's there. It's hitting all the right.
Canary
right
aren't
things.
people. What is this?
all the right buttons, and like to John's point, I think action combat makes the game just fun to play. I think previous Dragon Age games you did the gameplay because you wanted to get the story. Here it's like, okay, I'm really enjoying the gameplay, and then I get the BioWare story on top of that. So
nice.
Good on them.
Huzzah.
All right. So I'll be checking in on that game. That'll probably be my game for quite a while, games are drying up a little bit here.
Yeah. So. Yeah. After this, you have to either look in your backlog or like read a book or something.
I'm trying to do both.
Yeah, I know. That's tough.
All right. So we're going to end the show on our final thing here. It's going to be a topic. It's not going to be our Game of the Year flashback. We're still holding off on that because I wanted to talk about this. We are in the 9th generation of video game consoles. We're about 4 years in. John and I both got our PlayStation 5s 4 years ago. Feels like yesterday.
Yeah, it does.
When we were patiently waiting.
There's not many moments in my life that I can like recollect like a lot of time, and I can recollect that entire day.
Yeah.
Like stupid. Waking up, looking out the window, seeing the FedEx truck drive by and not give me the thing, and like, yeah.
Well, there's very few moments where you get to feel like a kid.
Yep.
And new consoles will always be one of them.
Yep.
The PlayStation 6 will be the same way. Yeah, so we're 4 years in. I would assume that we're at the very least at the halfway point of the 9th generation of consoles, which is just the Xbox Series X and S and the PlayStation 5. That just kind of a check-in. How do we feel about this generation of video games? Are we feeling good? Do we like what they've done and where games are sitting at right now?
I feel great.
You feel great?
I feel great. Yeah, I mean, I think this entire generation has been a pretty big success, and you wouldn't think that, based on what most people say. I think there are obvious room for improvement spots where it's like, there's a dearth of first-party games for Sony, right? Like we're getting a lot of remakes, and what's this team doing? What's that team doing? And we're starting to see that drip feed out with like Ghost of Yotei, but that's not to say that the games aren't there at all, right? No. We've got Elden Ring, we've got It Takes Two, Resident Evil continues to be amazing. Final Fantasy 16 was dope. There's amazing games that have been coming out, so that has not gone away at all, in my opinion. You'll hear a lot of people just say, well, where are all the games? And I think those people are just insane.
You're not, well, if you're looking at the AAA games, I can see that. But if you're not looking at indie games, as we've talked about on the show many times, you're making a fucking mistake, because a lot of the best games are in that indie market, and they're kind of filling in the niche titles. They're coming out more frequently, and they're just amazing. As we gushed about Neva last week, is like some of the best experiences are in indie games.
Yeah.
And indie games combined with AAA gaming is just a yummy package.
Mm-hmm. But, and in terms of the devices themselves, I think the PlayStation 5 and Xbox, I've obviously spent a lot more time with my PlayStation 5, are fantastic devices. They're snappy, they're quick, the load times are real. There's a little bit of false promising happening, man. You know, where it's like, hey, everything's going to be 4K 60 is what it seemed like they were telling us on the front end of these machines, but you know, not quite where we're at. So a little bit, you know, of I don't know if you want to gripe about something, it could be that, but no, they're great from top to bottom. I mean, I think if there's anything to complain about from this generation, it's not going to come from the devices or the lack of games. It'll come from maybe the focus of what these companies are doing, and we can maybe get into that a little bit more. You know, whether it's a live service push, whether it's we're just going to go buy our success. You know, not managing our portfolios to the best of our abilities. I think there's a lot of obvious mistakes and things that Microsoft wishes they could have done differently if you gave them a time machine. But all in all, at least on the PlayStation Nintendo side, things are looking great.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, as the industry at large is kind of trying to figure out development times to make these games look as good as they do, and AAA games is taking way longer than any of them could imagine, and they got to figure out a better cadence to get, you know, I think all these publishers should be looking, you know, you probably want at least a big game every quarter. Yeah. So you're looking at 4 per year. So, and it just seems like a lot of development studios are struggling to do so, unless you're Insomniac. Then you're just like, I got this.
Yeah.
Or From Software, you know, they're like, I got this, you know, because, you know, there's still studios that are MIA on this generation of consoles. You know, BioWare just finally got out here, and I think so many.
I think a lot of, you know, we'll never know. There's lots of stuff we'll never know, but if you think of the studios that we kind of have a little more information about on the longevity, I think of Rocksteady. That thing got rebooted. Dragon Age, that thing got rebooted. Right. There's just a lot of moving pieces that, like you said in the front, you know, they're trying to figure it all. They're constantly. They've been trying to figure out video games since the Nintendo, right? But you know, it's just the goalposts are different.
Yeah, just come on. We need some of these studios that I would love more studios to have more than one game a generation of consoles.
Yeah,
you know, your Rockstars, your, you know, Sony Bend, Naughty Dog, like, come on. Yeah. You guys, we can't wait forever.
It does suck, but, you know, I do love my indie games for almost that reason more than anything else. Is it, you know, playing Thank Goodness You're Here put a smile to my face unlike anything else. You know, Astrobot was able to do that too. That's a AAA game, but like, yeah, man, you can fill in the gaps. You can, if you're, you know, yeah, if you're only a AAA gamer, that's weird, first of all. But I would also argue, like, you're almost wanting to complain about things at that point. Like, there's nothing that you can find that doesn't interest you just because it's not Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to be like, grow up. You know, same way that if there's any adults out there like, I don't watch animated movies. It's like, grow up, right?
Yeah, expand your taste. There's just so much. There's so much out there, especially in the game space, to play right now.
I got a question for you. What do you think? What are the biggest headlines of this generation so far? Like when you think of the biggest news stories, and maybe even might not be a news story, but you could put a headline on something. What comes to mind?
I just keep thinking like that. I know it came out last generation, but just the impact that Fortnite is going to have.
Mm-hmm. Live service is definitely one of mine.
Is going to be one of the, like, unfortunately, a continuing trend that I don't like, that conditions all the kids that are now becoming adults into how they consume their gaming content. And just to your last point is like, please play something else than Fortnite. There's so many good games, so many better experiences than playing a game that has not changed fundamentally in a very long time.
And if you talk to any person who plays a game like that, we know a couple here, they're never happy. They're never happy with it. You know, it's always just like, why don't they do this? Why isn't this happening? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know. Why don't you put it down and find something else?
Right.
Live service is definitely, because I guess I'm thinking of this question more in like, what will be the lasting legacy of this generation, right? And like live service is definitely one. I think the separating, like, PlayStation rising above Xbox, like, I think that will be what this generation is known for, right?
More than last generation, though?
Yeah, because I think this is the one that the games crossed over.
Like, you're a very good point.
Yeah, I think this is last generation was the start of it, but this is the one where the knee was on the throat.
Yeah, and not even just that. I think this will also be the generation where the timeline from console only to PC is a lot quicker, if not the same day. And again, as we see with Sony upcoming, Horizon Adventures coming out on Switch. And like you just said, Xbox.
The lines are blurring.
Yeah, that getting your game on more platforms seems to be a huge priority.
Due to the costs.
Yep,
like another one. Yeah, just the costs and increasing development cycles, that we harp on all the time here. But, and that's kind of another, like, when I was writing this out, it seems like every single news headline that I think of this generation, it all comes from a negative point, right? Whether it's the Activision Blizzard purchase where it's like, okay, consolidation is bad or people losing their jobs. All the news headlines seem negative. But despite all that, it's what we said at the very front of this. Games are still amazing. We're still having fun with them. That's never going to stop. Well, hopefully that's never going to stop. But I think games are better than they've ever been. It's the reason that you just, you don't like to play older games because, like, every time you go back and play one, it's like, this is good, but, like, we've come so far.
Yeah.
The quality of life things are so much better now that it makes it so hard to go back and do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm loving my PS5, man. I think it's, I don't want to make a proclamation of this until it's over, but it's probably my. PS4 was like the generation, but this
was pretty good.
This is right there. Good. I mean, the PS2 is special for its own reasons, but, like, Sony, I'm very happy that I'm playing on that machine, and yeah.
Yeah, and I do think, like, again, it always seems like consoles are always slow to start, right? Like, they're just they're making games for the last generation, which we always see. It's a PS4, PS5 game, and all that stuff. And now that we're moving further and further away from that, is like when you're really going to see, like, games are going to start looking even better. And next year seems to just already going to be an insane year of video games. As a lot of these studios are finally going to pop off.
Once again, knocking on wood.
Yeah. Next year is just going to be, I think, is I know I had the running joke at the beginning of the year that this was going to 2024 was going to be
giving
just
2023 a run for its money.
Yeah. But if everything comes out that says it's going to come out next year, we're primed to have one of the best years of all time.
Next year's the one. Next year, I mean, Grand Theft Auto is the big one, but Judas and the Switch 2, and does that mean a new Mario and God, there's so many.
Yeah. Oh yeah, new hardware.
I don't know. Is Wolverine still slated for next year?
No.
Right? No, they pushed it.
In the leak.
It's 2026.
In the leak next year is the Spider-Man half.
Oh, the Venom one.
Yeah. So. But yeah, Ghost of Yotai and all. I love video games, man.
Yeah.
And I think when this generation's all said and done, it'll be considered one of the best.
Right.
Just like I said, the quality of life improvements. I mean, the DualSense is just top tier.
The DualSense is I don't even think it is the best controller that's ever been made. Unless if there's a rare small, I've heard it doesn't fit people's hands sometimes.
Get out of here.
Yeah. No, that's like anything. We played with the Xbox
not the Duke. Yeah.
Right. But just in terms of what a controller can do, that thing, you just play Astrobot and you'll know.
But yeah, and just. Again, just the stores too on all these consoles is just insane. Just the amount of content, subscription services. It's easier to play games than ever. Like
is it, Nick? Is it?
Well, if you have time, I can't help you there.
I know.
But if you have time to play games, I mean,
if
you're getting a PS5 right now, you subscribe to PlayStation Plus Extra, and you're just.
You're a fool to buy any game for a
right,
couple
or you're
months.
getting Xbox, you get Game Pass, and you're just like you're drowning. Right? There's just so many games, so
immediately drowning.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, it's
such a far cry
awesome.
from when we were kids, and you get your thing, and then you play Aladdin 47 times because like that's what I have.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can reach the final boss with 7 lives. Ooh.
Yeah. And then just personally, is there ever going to be a year where I'm not excited to play games? It just never seems like it will ever get there. Every year, and it's going to be the things we don't know about. Sure, Hades 2 and Judas and Grand Theft Auto will be these huge things, and they're going to consume so much time. We're going to love them, but there's going to be so many games that, like a Neva, thank goodness you're here, a Stellar Blade, these smaller titles that are just going to come out of nowhere, and they're going to be a big part of your year.
We're sitting here right now talking about all these games, and then boom, Exodus is in 93, and you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think. Yeah.
Is there anything super negative you can say about this generation? Like besides like what we already mentioned, like anything come? Because I don't know. Like
I'm glad that the PlayStation like interface got that little update to the welcome screen, because I still think like they're just the PlayStation is just a weird system to navigate. All your games take up so much, and then when you click on them, they're just take up your whole screen. But I like the welcome screen improvements. I
would say bump up the battery life of the DualSense, but like whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I just swap controllers, and gaming's great.
Yeah, good job, guys. Everyone out, all those gaming guys. Good job.
Yeah, it's just next year is gonna be, like I said, like when you think about how the PlayStation 4 popped off right at the end there with Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, you think if it's good now, it's going to be insane what games are going to be.
Barlog's next game is going to be end of life PS5. We might get a Spider-Man 3. You might see that as a swan song. Horizon 3 could still show up. Next Housemarque game, next Blue Point game, next man.
All these people that popped off kind of early, of course they're gonna be there, and I just think
Xbox might eventually release something that people universally love. Avowed maybe.
I have a feeling that won't, but I think everyone's kind of like gotten there now, finally. But like I said, the last few years of a console generation are usually the best. So
and
let's go.
Oh, and they're gonna make PS6 games, PS5 games for 5 years after the PS6 comes out anyway. So that won't ever stop.
That's also the interesting part, is when will this generation end? And I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, my guess would be 2029 or something like that.
2029?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying officially end, like a PS6 will be out, but there'll be PS5 games.
No, I think a PS6 will come out in 2029 or 2028. One of the two.
Okay, 2028.
8 years, man.
Would be pushing it.
I mean, the PS3 was 7 years. PS4 was 7 years. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like this one's gonna last. It's just everything slows down, right? Everything has slowed down in the industry, from development costs to other things that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Right.
So I like to start sentences with thoughts before I have them actually in my head.
No, you're probably right. So they'll try and extend
just with
the
COVID, like kind of doing a thing, and I don't know.
And unlike other generations, the prices have not come down yet on any of the consoles. So.
I only say things like this so that I can go haha in 5 years. And be like, I told you. Even if I'm wrong, I don't think you'll remember, but I'll remember.
Okay.
That's why I say these things.
So awesome. I'm so stoked for just the games that we know are coming is insane. And
besides Grand Theft Auto, what's your number one next year?
Oh, next year?
Yeah.
Let's get Judas.
Yeah, Judas is
Expedition 33. Yeah, Hades 2 will be huge. And God, I hate to say it, like probably Death Stranding 2 is going to be amazing.
Probably for people who like it.
I'll just watch a video on Death Stranding 1 so I can just play 2, because maybe it'll have a lot of quality of life improvements that I didn't like about the first game.
But who's the beach, Nick? Who's the beach?
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? You're right.
If it plays really well and has cameos by every big when Timothy Chalamet's in it, and
Jesus. It's just all of a sudden a Dune crossover, and you see him riding a worm in the background. You're like, what is this?
That'll be insane. God, that's why I'm like the Game Awards this year. I just feel like Keely's gonna be like, I got everything.
You should have some good shit.
Like I got everything you want.
It's like a month away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's pretty cool. Hey.
That's a good point to end on. The consoles continually are amazing.
Go vote for your Golden Joysticks awards. Those have opened up today. Or at least two of the categories, the best game of the year and the best adaptation. So if you want a little preview of what probably will be there at the Game Awards, that's open now. I voted for mine.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this show up. So your Rebirth is it, huh?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, well, you gave me Silent Hill, right?
Oh yeah, Silent Hill. Yeah.
I may have time to play tonight. I probably won't. So I don't know. I got to figure out how I want to approach this, right? Obviously, I'm not going to finish Rebirth before I start Silent Hill. That would be crazy. So do I just do it now? Because I'm not I know I'm in Costa del Sol. It seems like a clean break. Because if I risk moving into the next area and then be like, oh cool, now I'm in open world. I want to go keep doing this and then stop. So it probably makes most sense to just go right into it now.
Yeah. It took me 15 hours.
Okay.
So.
All right. So I could probably get it by the end of the year. Yeah. And yeah. So those two. And this is extra funny for when we do our end of year wrap ups, and I have 1,400 hours of video games played, and Nick's at 600. And we're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So. Yeah. I was looking at it just the other day because I was trying to figure out the timeline of when we got it, and it was December. Yeah. When we got those. But yeah, that's
my favorite month to podcast. December Game Awards and Game of the Years and wrap ups and yeah, that's always fun. I like all that stuff.
But we should be getting as far as teases, we should actually get the Game Awards information, I think. Soon. Either next week or the week after that, the actual nominees for everything. So we'll kind of go through the hot ones, best indie, best adaptation, most anticipated, and go from there. But that'll be fun to talk about too.
Yeah. See what games Julio's playing. Make fun of his games. Freddie B, we'll see what you're playing. You send in your wrap-ups. Yeah. Oh yeah, buddy boys. You guys write in. This is our payment. We get to see what you've been playing. We entertain you and you entertain us.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, it's interesting to see how many platinums people earn that year.
Just kidding. We're not judgy, I swear. Just send in your stuff. It'll be fun.
No, it was great last year. It was cool. Again, find out how much time you spend gaming is exciting, and what is your most played game and all that. It's all cool information.
It's gonna be the show.
I checked your account. I don't think it's gonna be the show. It says last time I checked 22 hours. So
yeah, I actually looked the other day too. I think it was something like that.
So I think you got another children's game coming called Roblox.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm just gonna pretend that that's you and not your son. So I'm just gonna be like, oh, John lies. He's all about Roblox.
Roblox is secretly the shit. Just kidding. Do not quote me on that. It's the worst thing I've ever played in my life.
All right. So are we good?
We're good.
All right. Let's end this thing. We haven't brought a song yet from this franchise because John and I haven't played it yet, but I have heard the battle music for Metaphor ReFantazio, and it is awesome.
It's different. It's good. It is awesome. It'll throw you.
Yeah. So on that little tease, the song is called Warriors in Arms. The entire soundtrack for Metaphor ReFantazio is on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen. So if you're at least curious and haven't played the game yet, you can at least check it out. And again, this is famed composer Shoji Meguro, who we featured on this show so many times. He did it again. Yeah. Not shocking.
Yeah, there's something about Japanese composers and just knocking it out of the park every single time. They're really good at it. Whether it's Uematsu, this guy, the Nier people, they're all great.
Yeah. And again, to kind of full circle this, I mean, Japanese developers killed it this year.
Yeah.
Holy cow, they're going to have a huge presence at the Game Awards. regardless, even if at least half of the games, as we mentioned, our locks were Japanese games. So Astrobot, Metaphor, and Final Fantasy VII, which we are definitely going to be in there, all Japanese.
Yeah.
So.
And then a single indie developer poker guy.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out very soon. And, of course, we'll bring it to this show when we do. Again, thank you for listening. We love you all. If you haven't reviewed us on your platform of choice,
Ooh, good call.
Please do so. That helps us, and we love it. Even if it's negative, I don't care.
I kind of care.
Okay, John cares, so maybe
Not gonna be negative. All press is good press.
Yep. And write in, let us know what you're playing, what you want us to talk about, of course. And again, write in at betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. But until next week, we're done here, John. We can say goodbye.
Godspeed.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.